going to 20 different funerals make you stop and think that maybe you shouldn't be carrying a gun? Maybe you shouldn't be hanging around with these types of people?
No, it made me think that I shouldn't get a gun.
To protect yourself?
Protect myself, so I wouldn't be the next one laying up. Nobody looking over me.
Rest in peace, you're here today, gone tomorrow.
Do you feel like the 90s are an age of violence?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Cause you can't fist fight no more. Say you get off or whatever, dap it off. Now, you fist fight, you beat somebody up, they gonna wanna go get a gun. It's either kill or be killed now.
What do you think of rap videos?
Yeah, all right. Cool.
What about the guns in them? Do you think it's a bad influence on kids?
No,
Why not?
because they just don't see it on the TV. They see it around here every day.
So we got our own videos around here.
And New Orleans police say a man was shot and killed this afternoon in the St. Thomas neighborhood. It happened at the intersection of Tchoupitoulas and Jackson Avenue around 1. Police shut down Tchoupitoulas between Josephine and Phillip Streets for about 3 hours during their investigation. Police say a silver car was at a stoplight when a second car pulled up and someone inside opened fire. A man in the silver car died. A second person in that car was wounded in the hand. Officers are still searching for the suspects tonight.
Noon this morning, a person is dead after a shooting in the Lower Garden District. Police say they were called a few minutes before 9 last night to the intersection of St. Thomas and St. Andrew Streets. The victim was taken to a hospital where they died. No word yet on a suspect or motive.
The Lower Garden District, where they say a young boy was shot. Police say he was injured in the 600 block Felicity Street. That's near St. Thomas overnight. He's currently in the hospital, but his condition not known at this time, and it's not clear exactly how old the boy is or what caused the initial shooting. Of course, we'll keep you updated on this story as well, but authorities are asking if you have any information that can help police in this investigation or either case to call Crime Stoppers at 822-1111.
My life a movie, OG Whammy taught me everything. How to whip it and to cook it and to bust a brain.
Good afternoon, everybody. First at 4 o'clock, we're following breaking news for you. New Orleans police investigating a shooting. Still a very active scene at this hour.
The shooting happened in the Irish Channel at St. Thomas and Felicity Streets. WDSU anchor Gina Swanson has details.
Police investigating a shooting here in the St. Thomas area. You can see the scene is still pretty active at this hour. All of this occurred sometime just before 3 o'clock. Now, witnesses who saw everything unfold tell us that a man had opened fire on a car passing in this area. We do know that someone in the car was struck. You can see the car actually proceeded and then crashed here at the next corner. Now, unclear what the state of injuries are. We do know that one person was taken to the hospital. Someone else trapped underneath the car. Again, we still have no word on injuries. This investigation is ongoing. For now, we're on your side in St. Thomas. I'm Gina Swanson. Back to you.
Vernon Anthony Johnson Sr., a.k.a. Whammy, was born to Miss Hannah Green October the 29th of 1972. In his teen years, Whammy would attend and graduate from L.C. Fortier, a.k.a. The Foe. By the age of 17, Whammy had already jumped off the porch, getting it how he lived in the mean, grimy streets of the Inno, or particularly the St. Bernard Project, a.k.a. the Thomas. The St. Thomas was often considered one of the most dangerous housing projects in the country throughout the 1980s. Many residents would board up their windows to prevent stray bullets from coming through the windows. The NOPD was hesitant driving through the Thomas and would often avoid passing down St. Thomas Street for their own safety. In 1991, the Thomas would lead all housing projects in rates of violent crimes, according to stats from Hano and the NOPD. From 1987 to 1991, the Thomas would record 48 murders, 370 robberies, and 638 assaults. This would be the environment that Whammy would come up in. Some of the first dudes that Whammy ran with in the streets were Lil Bub, AK, and Jerome. If you know, you know. Contrary to popular belief, Whammy has never been in the military. As a child, Whammy's grandfather was one of the biggest influences in his life. It was Whammy's grandfather who would shape and mold his hunting skills. At a very young age, Whammy's grandfather would teach him how to use and handle guns, taking him on hunting trips where Whammy would learn the skills that he would later use in the streets. Just like in an urban legend, there are many stories in the streets about Whammy camouflaging himself to slay his ops. Some have even said that Whammy would perch in trees to lay on his ops, oftentimes jumping out and smashing them. Because of his small stature, dudes out the project would look at Whammy as an easy target when he first started hustling in the courtyards of the Thomas. It wouldn't be long before Whammy would catch his first body. Growing tired of being robbed by the same dude over and over, Whammy would get his hands on a heater. Soaking up the game he was given from an OG out the project, Whammy was fully prepared if he were to ever be tried again. And just like all robbers who feel they have found an easy target, dude would try to go with his move again. This time, he would unfortunately meet his untimely demise as Whammy would draw down and smash him. Being one of the deadliest projects in the city, coming up in the Thomas is rough, rugged, and raw. It's either get or get got. This would only be the beginning of dudes at the project trying to play with Whammy. One evening, while looking at a dice game, Whammy would get into it with a dude out the project who felt played about losing his money. An argument would ensue. Dude would steal on Whammy in front of everybody at the dice game. After stealing on Whammy, dude and his partner would stunt on him, threatening to jump Whammy. Realizing that he was too small and outnumbered, Whammy would just walk off. However, this wouldn't be Whammy's last encounter with Dude. Taking a page out of General Alter's book, aka Meatball, Whammy would dress up like a woman and punish Dude. Dude would survive the shooting, but would be paralyzed for the rest of his life. After this incident, Whammy would garner respect for being a known killer. The game is cool, but fair. And unfortunately, there are no rules to the streets. This Whammy will find out early coming up in the Thomas. Robberies, kidnappings, and murders were all part of the game. One of the first incidents that would nearly take Whammy off the streets would involve a home invasion. Trying to get on his feet, Whammy will pull off an act, going with the move, breaking into a crib to hit a lick. Word would start to circulate on the streets that Whammy had went with the move. It wouldn't be long before retaliation would come in the form of bullets. Whammy would be hit up, nearly being deleted. As bullets were flying, Whammy would throw up his hand, preventing a lethal shot from hitting him in the head. He would survive being shot, but would be wheelchair bound for a minute, even wearing an arm sling for weeks after no longer needing the wheelchair. Having earned a reputation in the streets for being a killer, Whammy would run wild when it came to the women.
In New Orleans, murder make you popular. If you murder a few people, the women are going to love you. That's crazy. It sounds crazy. It is crazy, but that's New Orleans.
Ultimately, having a total of 9 kids by 3 different women. At one point in the game, Whammy would be with one of the flyest dope girls out the Thomas, Connie Black. Connie Black would eventually give birth to 2 of Whammy's sons. Unbeknownst to many, Whammy would attend college for a short time, studying criminal justice, but would ultimately end up dropping out. Like all dudes that jump off the porch at a young age, Whammy would find himself surrounded by troubles with the law. In the late 80s, early 90s, house parties, school dances, hall dances, and skate rink parties were the thing. 3Ps and skate country were popping at the time. Dope boys and dope girls from every hood would attend. It was after leaving a skate rink party that Whammy would get into it with some dudes, damn near coming to blows. Later that night, after leaving the skate rink, it would go down. As the driver of the car that Whammy was in pulled up on dude Whammy had got into it with, Whammy would start busting at them. This would terrify the occupants of the whip that Whammy was in, as they had no idea that he was going to start letting off. Whammy was facing serious time if convicted for the shooting. Whammy's grandfather would drop a lot of bread fighting the case, which would later be dropped because of witness testimony or the lack thereof. It wouldn't be until the late 90s that Whammy would start playing with that doochie, which he would become hooked on. It was this dependency that would lead to Whammy jacking, robbing, and killing even more to support his habit. Whammy, who had already become a known jacker and shooter in the city, was robbing damn near every dope set in the hoods. One of Whammy's most infamous beefs would be with the DBs out the Magnolia, aka the Dooney Boys. Year is 2001. Dooney Boy Johnny Boo and Dooney Boy Timmy, aka Squatty, were doing their thing, pumping that doochie on Clara Street. Whammy, who was a regular customer, would slide through to cop. Having never had an issue with Whammy, the DBs wouldn't see him as a threat. Unlike most dope fiends, Whammy would never be short when he copped his fix. Unbeknownst to the DBs, Whammy and Johnny Davis, aka Kent War Fat, weren't seeing eye to eye. When Fat found out that Whammy was copping, he would give the order to hit Whammy. A little dude out the Ville who was trying to earn his stripes with the DBs would insist that he do the job. It wouldn't be long before Whammy would be back on the set trying to cop. As he was walking off, Squally, aka Lil Timmy, would walk through the cut and hit Whammy up with a Mini 14, knocking him off his feet. As dude out the Ville went to stand over Whammy and finish the job, his gun would jam. Lil Timmy's gun would jam as well. Whammy would struggle to his feet, collapsing by the long driveway. The DBs would strap back up to finish the job. As they tried to walk down on Whammy, he would start hitting back. EMS and the NOPD would eventually arrive, taking Whammy away from the scene. Whammy's immediate family would not learn the full details of his dependency until he was hospitalized after being hit up by the DBs. It wouldn't be long before Whammy would start sending threats to the Magnolia about retaliating. Before you knew it, Whammy would be back on the streets and out for blood. Not being fully healed from his wounds, Whammy would still be moving around. Meanwhile, word on the street was that he was going to punish Lil Timmy and anything around him. The year is 2001. The month is September 13 to be exact. Squally, who was healing from previously being hit up, would refuse to just chill in the crib and get right. He just had to be in the project around the action. This would be during the time that the Magnolia was undergoing the process of moving out the tenants and rebuilding the development. The project was scarce with hardly any tenants occupying it, making it even more of a breeding ground for violence. Whammy, who would see this as his opportunity to strike, would pull up on a pedal bike, catching Timmy and Paper slipping. Word is that Whammy would let them get the kids out the way before hitting both Timmy and Paper. As time would pass, Whammy would be back on his jacking shit, going with the move on Buku niggas. In 2003, Whammy would go to trial on a 2002 second-degree murder charge and beat the case. Several years would pass. It is now 2008. Word on the street was that Whammy had jacked all the little dudes who used to be hustling around Swagman. At the age of 35, Whammy would be fatally shot at or around 7 p.m. on Monday, October the 6th of 2008. While riding his bike down Constant Street, as he approached the intersection of Race Street, he would be shot several times with a 40. He would already be deceased by the time the paramedics would make it to his body. This was the story of 10th Ward Whammy.